This is Spider-Man issue 46. It's got a weird shiny cover that isn't quite shiny, but it is shiny. This is the run by Mr. Mackie and Lyle. And Lyle, he died last week, and I have been putting off reviewing this for so long that I felt really bad when he died, and I still hadn't reviewed it. Lyle, he was one of the main Spider-Man artists in the mid-90s, during what is, unfortunately, considered one of the low points of the character's history. This is just before the Clone Saga. And Lyle, his big claim to fame is that he was the one who designed the Ben Reilly costume, the blue hoodie one. And I think he is a decent Spider-Man artist. We got a nice splash page here, and if you like this, well, look, there's another one. I think the reason that Lyle maybe never got held up there with the best Spider-Man artists was because, well, a combination of things. Firstly, that he was drawing comics that people decided to hate. But I think the big thing was he was drawing what I consider to be a very safe style. It's kind of like Spider-Man house style. He's drawing Spider-Man and he's kind of ticking all the boxes of the last batch of major Spider-Man artists. So you've got bits of Todd McFarlane in there, you've got bits of Martin Bagels, you've got Brie Larson's granddad, and he's not really innovating anything or doing something new. And I think people maybe didn't really think of this sort of safe 90s Spider-Man composite style as something that stood out. I do like his art though, and controversially, I like this run. Mr. Mackie, the writer, he is someone who has been elected as one of the worst writers of comics ever. And he's like a go-to source of ridicule. He actually doesn't write comics anymore because of it. But I tell you what, during this period there were 4 Spider-Man books. And one of the 4 writers on those 4 books was absolutely terrible. And it was not Mr. Mackie. He doesn't write deep stories or meaningful stuff. He just writes pretty standard Spider-Man action stories. Classic, accessible superhero stuff. And I do really like what Mr. Mackie does with the Hobgobblers, and later on with Unterman. And Mr. Mackie, he did a lot of stuff just trying to fix the Hobgobbler. This included breaking the character into 2 different characters. So we've got the regular Hobgobbler, and then we have got Demon Gobbler. This is him here. Demon Gobbler, he is great. He is one of my favourite Spider-Man baddies. I probably like him more than the Hobgobbler. What happened was, we looked at that issue a while ago. The Hobgobbler, he made a deal with an evil demon for more power, and he wound up being cursed and possessed by an evil demon. Well, in another story by Mr. Mackie in Spider-Man's Web, he did an exorcism, and he had the evil demon removed from the Hobgobbler, and the evil demon, it became another character called Demon Gobbler, and this meant that Hobgobbler, he could get back to being a straightforward villain. And even this here, this is really niche, but I love this thing that would happen in Spider-Man books, where Spider-Man, he would just be swinging around New York land, and then one of his villains would fly past in the background, or we would cut away and see one of his villains nearby, thinking to themselves and flying off. It's hard to explain exactly what I mean, but in my mind it is very clear. Well, yeah, this whole story, it deals with redefining the Hobgobbler and reintroducing him. Here he is out of costume and he's down on his luck because now he doesn't have any evil demon powers to make him capable of going toe-to-toe with Spider-Man. And him and a low-rent hood, that's me trying to sound American, they have broken into an abandoned penthouse apartment to steal stuff, and it is Unterman's at home. And Unterman, he has been dead since Spider-Man's last hunt. He has been dead for ages. Before I forget though, this isn't the start of this run. This run, it started with issue 44, but I didn't have issue 44 or issue 45. 45 is part 1 of a 4-part story told across all the Spider-Man titles. It's got Chameleon as a baddie. Lyle, he started with issue 44, and Mr. Mackie, he started writing this book then. Before that, he had a less good run on Spider-Man's web. Although the stuff he did with Hobgoblin, that was good. A lot of the other stuff wasn't very good. So they find one of Unterman's journals, and the accomplice wants to blackmail Unterman's family with it, but Hobgoblin, he has other plans. He wants to use it to discover how Unterman was able to boost his strength level and his endurance, because he wants to be able to fight Spider-Man again. So Hobgoblin, he kills the other guy, which, just a little thing like that. This is all towards the end goal of making Hobgoblin a proper adversary to Spider-Man again. The character, he had been broken by Christopher Pruitt totally destroying the reveal of his secret identity. And then the whole evil demon thing, which I do like. It took the character in a direction that was too removed from what the Hobgoblin probably should be. And then Demon Gobbler, he wants to kill Hobgoblin. Demon Gobbler, his thing is that he's a crazy zealot who wants to murder all the sinners. And him and Hobgoblin, I think I've missed a page. Yeah, there, nice shot of Demon Gobbler showing up. Him and Hobgoblin, they have this bond because they used to share a body. We've got solid action stuff from Lyle and Spider-Man. He shows up to break up the fight, and it's quite fun because we have Spider-Man doing back and forths, having to deal with Demon Gobbler, and then having to deal with Hobgoblin. And every time he tries to handle one of them, then the other uses that opportunity to de-summit. Lyle, always dependable. When he came to these 4 Spider-Man books, I would consider Lyle probably the second best of the artists. He was only overshadowed by Martin Bagels on Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man, that was being written by Jim Tomatoes, with art by Martin Bagels, and no matter how much I do enjoy the first 10 or so issues of Mr. Mackie and Lyle's run, it's obviously gonna pale in comparison to that. Also, that's a little hint. I've just cut down the 3 candidates for who was worse than Mr. Mackie to just Tom the Falcon on Spectator Spider-Man and Brett Kavanaugh on Spider-Man's web. And it's Brett Kavanaugh. He is fucking awful. His run and everything he has ever written is everything that people say Mr. Mackie is. I've no idea why people decided to absolutely hate Mr. Mackie when he's nowhere near as bad as Brett Kavanaugh. And he has written, Mr. Mackie, he has written some serviceable or even enjoyable stuff. I really, honestly, truly do like this story arc. And I like the next one with Unterman's son. And yeah, didn't get us wrong, Mr. Mackie, he has wrote some terrible stuff. But Brett Kavanaugh has never wrote a good story. And in a pool of Jim Tomatoes, Tom the Falcon, Mr. Mackie and Brett Kavanaugh, Mr. Mackie is clearly not the shit one of the quartet. We've got some surprising character work here, with Demon Gobbler admitting defeat, and he even forgives Hobgoblin for his sins. And while this is all going on, Spider-Man is a bit phased by them being in Unterman's place, and he has memories and flashbacks to Spider-Man's last hunt when he was buried alive, and it is unnerving him. And then we end with Hobgoblin who escaped with the journal, is going to Russia to meet Untermann's family, and it is to be continued. I recommend this if you want an easy read and a fun and harmless Spider-Man story. Didn't give in to the Mr. Mackie mob mentality. He did have it in him to write fun Spider-Man comics. I think I have issue 46 to 55. The last 2 or 3 are part of the Clone Saga, but I'd recommend these. Enjoyable stuff. I rate it 7 thumbs up.